What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to episode 14 of Manny's Food Channel. It's your boy Manny, aka Mr. Cooking It Up. And for this episode, I could not be more excited because this is one of my childhood favorite desserts. It is the perfect combination of flavor, texture, eye appeal, and color. It is absolutely fantastic. It is more than freaking delicious. It is the house-made Leche Flan with a pecan crumble and fresh fruit. The best part about it is you don't have to pay $15 to $20 at a restaurant. You can simply make this in the comfort of your own home. And it's the best kind of cooking, so it's time to get down to business. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to separate the egg whites from the egg yolk. So I'm going to separate 8 egg whites from their yolks, and I'm going to put them in 2 separate bowls. Now make sure you crack the eggs in a separate area so that way we don't get any of the shells in the bowls. Alright, next up we're just going to give these eggs a very quick mix, making sure that the eggs are well mixed together and well incorporated. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add in our evaporated milk and give this a quick stir. Next up, we're going to add in a touch of vanilla extract just to give it some of that vanilla flavor in there. And finally, we're going to add in the condensed milk. Now, because we're adding condensed milk, I'm not going to add any sugar to it because condensed milk is naturally very sweet. So we're just going to toss in 1 can here and give it a nice mix. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I want a very nice and smooth leche flan. So I'm just going to strain this mixture to remove any of the impurities that are in this leche flan mix. Okay, so before we put the mixture aside, I'm going to make quick sugar molds or sugar garnishes that we're going to put on top of the leche flan as we're serving it. So what I have here is just a pan with some parchment paper, and we're going to use the same caramel mixture that we have or that we're going to be making to make this sugar garnish. So first what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray the pan very liberally with some Pam here, and I have 2 cookie cutters, and I'm also going to spray the insides and the outsides as well very thoroughly because we're going to be pouring the sugar inside these to make the garnish. And now this is set up, we're going to go back to our mixture and continue on from there. Okay, so there's a couple tips when it comes to making this caramel mixture. One is always make sure you're staying around the area, don't leave it because otherwise it burns very quickly. 2, just put it on medium heat. Don't speed up the process. You want to melt the sugar first before you caramelize it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add about 1.5 cups of sugar. And I'm not going to add any water or anything. I'm just going to let it melt completely before I caramelize the sugar. And then we're going to use the first mixture to make our caramel molds or to make those sugar molds for the garnish. And then after that, we're going to add water to make the caramel syrup. Alright, so now that this mixture has reached a consistency and color that I like, I'm going to take it off heat to make the sugar garnish for the leche flan. I'm not going to brown it anymore because it's reached a very nice color of brown, a really dark caramelized color, and nice smooth consistency. So at this step, we have to work very quickly. Okay, so I let the mixture cool down just a touch so that way we can have a nice consistency to start making the garnish. Please be careful during this step. The sugar is extremely hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a spoonful and then just very quickly make a nice quick garnish. Should be very smooth, very light. And any wasted that's on the side, you can put it back into the pan, melt it up, and use it again. Okay, so now we're going to put this back on heat. As you can see, it's turning darker. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to melt this back down. And once it's melted, I'm going to throw in some water. Okay, so now that our caramel syrup is ready, we can start pouring it into our mold. Please be very careful, this is extremely hot. So just put enough sugar or caramel syrup at the bottom and move it around so that way it covers all the base. And I like to add a little more because it adds a nice flavor to it. The caramel being bittersweet complements the sweetness of the Leche Flan. So now I'm just going to leave it in here and let it cool off a little bit before I put the Leche Flan mix. Okay, so now that this liquid caramel has completely cooled, now I can pour in the mixture. Make sure you evenly distribute amongst all your molds. I'm going to do a couple of individual ones and one really big one. So I'm just going to distribute enough mixture in each mold. And then we're going to cover this up with tin foil because we don't want the top to cook. And what we're going to do is we're going to be steaming it in the oven at 350 degrees for at least 50 minutes to an hour. And then we'll check it to see whether or not it's cooked. If it needs more time, then we'll cook it for a little more. If not, we'll take it out of the oven and cool it down. So now what I'm going to do is I got this here. You can use any size pan that you have. And we're going to very gently put them into this big roasting pan that I have. And then we're going to fill it up with probably halfway through of warm water. And then we're going to let it steam in the oven for about an hour. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a very quick pecan crumble. So I have equal parts of oats, sugar, flour, and melted butter. But first what we're going to do is we're going to put the oats, sugar, and flour into the mixer and quickly just give it a few second blitz. And next up what we're going to do is we're going to add the pecans, but we're only going to give it a light crush. We want some texture in the crumble. So I'm only going to blitz it for a maximum of 5 to 10 seconds because I still want it to be quite chunky in there. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mix and put it into a bowl. And then I'm going to slowly add in the melted butter and mix it around very thoroughly to make sure that the butter is well mixed with this crumble. And then we're going to put it on a pan and bake it in the oven at 350 degrees for probably 10 to 15 minutes. Just to toast off some of that flavor and crumble starts to come together. So now I'm going to pop this in the oven at 350 degrees and cook it up for 5 to 10 minutes or until it is golden brown. And there's about 29 minutes left for the flan to be ready. Alright, now the crumble has been cooking for, I cooked it for 15 minutes because it wasn't brown enough, but now it's golden brown. And it's got a really nice texture and it's looking great. So now we're just going to let that cool off and we're going to wait. There's about 6 minutes left on the Leche Flan before I take it out and let it cool off. Alright, so I took my Leche Flan out of the oven. It's been exactly 1 hour and the way to test it is to put a stick through the middle and see whether or not it comes out clean, which in this case it does. So now that means that it's cooked. We're going to remove the tin foil on all of them, move it to a different rack and leave it in the fridge until they completely cool down. And once they're cool, we will flip all of them over. Okay, so the Leche Flan has been sitting in the fridge for about an hour or so, maybe even an hour and a half. Now I'm just going to remove it from the mold. I'm just going to use a tiny spatula here. If you have a knife, that's totally fine. Just be careful that you don't damage the Leche Flan. On one side, just push it down. It's just flat against the mold, and then just slowly turn all the way around until you remove it from the mold.
And there we have it, folks. Homemade Leche Flan, garnished with pecan crumble and some fresh fruit. How freaking delicious does that look right now? I am definitely gonna devour this whole thing. And time for the taste test. Okay, so I just want to show you what it looks like in the middle, so I'm just going to crack it open. And look at that. Nicely cooked. It's got a nice texture. And now we're going to have a bite and see how it is. Alright, so I'm going to try and get a bite of everything. A little bit of the crumble, the fresh fruit, and of course the Leche Flan. And my mouth is salivating, you have no idea. Cheers. This is so freaking delicious. Please, please, please have a try. Let me know how it is. If you have any questions, let me know. Comment below. I will help you out to cook this dish, but you definitely have to try it. It is so freaking delicious. It's one of my childhood favorites. And my mom used to make it for me when I was younger, and I thought I'd make a recreated version of this dish. Try it out, let me know how it is, and thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed this video, just hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing everyone next time.